Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and today we'll be doing our EU4 1.30 starting moves guide for Venice. In this guide we'll be going over the diplomacy and economy, war preparations, Balkan Wars and missions, as well as your later expansion and ideas that you should be going for. Before we start the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, commented, and subscribed, as well as left the bell button on. Around 28.9% of you guys have subscribed to my channel, so I really want to thank you so much for that. If you do enjoy watching my guides, do consider subscribing. It would help me out so much. If we can get this video to 900 likes, then I am gonna do a giveaway for an EU4 DLC or the base game if you don't have it. One achievement that is particular to Venice is the Venetian Sea, where you need to have 75% trade share in both Alexandria and Constantinople, whilst owning less than 10 cities as Venice. Playing as the Venetians is a bit different from most of the nations that we've already done, as they don't start off with an estates. So as such, we're gonna go directly to the rivals, and we're gonna be setting the very first rivals to Byzantium, together with the Hungarians as well as the Serbians. We were quite unlucky in this run to be rivaled by the Papal States. This is not something you want to see, as this means you can eventually get excommunicated if you're not careful. So you will have to improve relations with them. And if you have the Emperor DLC, you can spend some money and get indulgence, which gives you plus 75 relations, which makes it a lot easier dealing with this excommunication situation that you're in. So now that we have our rivals, who should we ally? As you can see, there's a lot of nations that actually will want to ally us. A lot of the times the Austrians will rival you together with the Hungarians, which is the case in our game here. So you want to get one of your allies to be either the Bohemians or the Poles, but if they rival each other as they did in my case here, then go for the Poles. They are definitely worth it and a lot stronger than the Bohemians. Wait for one more day, and as your second GB power, get somebody who rivaled the Austrians. So for example, here we have the French who rivaled the Austrians. We could also ally the Castilians, but they have rivaled the French, so it is much better just allying the French, as they will be able to help us against future wars that will definitely come against the Austrians. Now you might be thinking, oh, he's already over the diplo relations slot. Yes, I am, but we're not actually going to be guaranteeing the independence of the knights here, so we're going to revoke this here. Our early expansion is going to have to happen in the Balkan region, so we will definitely be fighting the Ottomans. But before we do declare war on the Ottomans, we're going to be setting up our army, and we're going to be doing a few things. We also want to be targeting the Bolognians, as they are not part of the HRE, and they are an easy target at the very start, as they don't always get any allies. So if they don't have any allies, that is your first Italian nation to attack right there, especially since they are in the Venetian trade node. Considering that you have the most serene republic government type, you have a lot of different things compared to the standard monarchy, such as one extra merchant and yearly corruption minus 0.10, but you also have minus 50 maximum absolutism. However, that is for much later in the future, so we don't need to worry about it too much. If you have the Mare Nostrum DLC, you can also create trading cities, which basically are independent nations that will be joining your trade league. Don't do it, it's not worth it. Make sure to also divert trade from Naxos and ask them to support you in the future wars. And when we go to the trade map mode, we quickly realize that we have 53% of the Venetian trade node, which is a lot. And it's not surprising, since we start off with a level 3 center of trade, or better yet, a world port, as well as 2 other level 1 centers of trade. One of our very first targets is going to be the gold mine in Kosovo. This thing here can sustain our economy for a very long time, and we want to grab this up before the Serbians get eaten up by the Ottomans. 90% of the times the Serbians are going to be allying either the Byzantines or the Bosnians, and that's going to make it easier for us, since we actually want to attack Bosnia, Serbia, and the Byzantines within the first couple of years. I would recommend deleting the fort in Spalato, as it is useless. It's a grasslands fort, and it's easy for the enemies to just siege it down and get some more war score against you. Keep the fort in Corfu, as whenever we have our war against the Ottomans, this is going to be an easy way to ambush and just bait them into here, block their army into the island of Corfu. You start off with 7 light ships, and you should definitely set them to protect trade in the Constantinople trade node, so you can get some more trade power in that trade node. You have 3 merchants at the very start. One of them is transferring trade power from Ragusa, the other one from Alexandria, and the third one from Vienna. I would recommend switching the one from Vienna over to Constantinople and ask them to transfer trade power in the Constantinople trade node, as we will be establishing ourselves in this area shortly. When it comes to your advisors, go for whichever best suits you. When it comes to a military one, I'd recommend a morale of armies or discipline. For the admin, you have a scripted advisor, George Trapezuntius, who is 50% cheaper, so go for that also. And for your diplo advisor, either a morale of navies or diplo relations. Morale of navies would be perfect at the very start, as we're going to be fighting a lot of nations off. We also need to start building some more galleys. I recommend taking a loan and start building at least 10 galleys. Once your first diplomat is back, start sending him and build a spy network in Constantinople, or better yet Byzantium. And when the second spy arrives, start building a spy network in Serbia. Next up, what we're going to do is we're actually going to be revoking the guarantee on Albania. Sometimes they ally Hungary or some surprisingly big nations, and that might help them in the war, but we don't care because we want the Ottomans to eat them. The Ottomans start with a core on both Cluj as well as Lecce, so we want the Ottomans to eat it up, and we can take it back from the Ottomans later ourselves. And in the meanwhile, we'll be taking care of the Byzantines, Serbians, and Bosnians before we turn our attention to the Ottomans. Another thing that I personally really like, but I know it's not a favorite of many people, is attacking the Serbians on the 11th of December 1444. And in order to do that, we don't even need to bother with our diplomat here. Instead, what we gotta do is we have to release the nation of Montenegro as our vassal and use our beloved vassal Montenegro here to take back their cores from Serbia. Having Montenegro as a vassal is especially good since they start off as an Orthodox Serbian nation, so you can feed them all of Serbia except Kosovo, since we want to directly have this from the start in order to take advantage of the gold in Kosovo. So if you did choose to release Montenegro, it's better just not sending a spy in the first place to build a spy network, as you will have to wait until the 25th of December to declare war. Go for the reconquest of Zeta and co-belligerate the Bosnians as well. It's not a massive issue. The Bosnians are basically a cakewalk. You want to co-belligerate them as you want to make them your vassal also and feed back their cores on Herzegovina. Booyah, we're gonna go to war, boys. You start off with about 18,000 units. It's not a lot of units. You should get a couple of generals. If you're lucky, you're gonna get a nice siege pip. If you have to, you can take a second loan. Don't stress about it. We're paying our loans very fast after we finish these wars. And hire the Grand Company. It's okay to invest a bit more of your points in getting another general. If you focus on military points, you should be getting 10 a month, which is quite a lot. I would focus on Bosnia first, seeing as they don't have any actual forts except their capital fort, so rush for that and try and siege it out. Same thing, go for Tellia's capital fort here. When piecing out Tellia, just take all the war reparations and trade power as well as cash as you can, and cancel their alliance with whoever is their biggest, baddest ally. In my case here, that would be Austria. When piecing out the Bosnians, make them your vassal, ask for all the cash that you can, and cancel their rivals, as that's going to give you +5 prestige. They are going to be disloyal, but that is not a massive issue. We're just going to be improving relations with them. Remember when you're sieging down enemy provinces that having a high enough spy network in the targeted country, in my case Serbia, means that we get bonuses to the siege. Peace out Serbia, take all of their provinces. You should be able to in one war and give back Zeta to your Montenegro vassal here. The only province that you would like to seriously core is Kosovo. The rest of the provinces, it's better just giving them off to Montenegro. Also make sure to pay off their debt, as that's going to improve your relations with them. This goes the same for the other vassals that you might have at some point. Click the Grand Province interaction and then go and start giving whichever provinces you want to give. This is going to lower their liberty desire, but it's going to increase their overextension, so you don't need to worry about that because nobody cares about their overextension. Giving all of these provinces to Montenegro simply means that you don't need to waste your admin points to core these. And if you give them, for example, Smederevo here, it means that they're the ones paying for the bill in Smederevo and not you. So that's a cool way of just not having to pay for your forts. Do be aware that if you give too much land to your vassals, your other vassals are going to start being disloyal. So I don't recommend giving too much, the best option would probably be Kolubara, Smederevo, and Raska together with their 2 starting cores of Zeta and Kotor. Keep the other 3 provinces. We want to have a nice sweet border with the Ottomans. Most of your galleys are going to be finished by now as well, as should be your claims on the Byzantines. A lot of the times the Byzantines ally Serbia. In my case, they allied Wallachia. Regardless, it's not a massive issue. We do still have until 1449 to attack them, however, as that is when the Ottomans can attack the Byzantines. So we're going to be attacking Herzegovina first, as we want to take back our second vassal Bosnia's cores. So they're allied to Epirus. They most of the time ally Wallachia, but in my game it was Epirus. So if they ally Wallachia, do not co-belligerate them and just ask them to transfer trade. If they ally Epirus, co-belligerate them and eat both Epirus and Herzegovina in this super fast war. Make sure to use your fleet to blockade the Epirid fleet, as they do start off with a sizable fleet, and use your vastly superior numbers to just wipe them out as fast as possible. And our ruler just died. Once we get to elect a new ruler, we're going to be losing some Republican tradition if we ourselves choose who the ruler should be, or if you want to go for the lottery, you don't lose any Republican tradition. You actually don't want to lose any Republican tradition in this game as the Venetians, but in this case I really don't want Marco Antonio to be the new ruler, since he is absolute trash. Simone here is decent, but Nicolo is an absolute beast, and I want to have the beast boy here. If you did get the Epirids in the war against Herzegovina, fully annex them, don't stress about a coalition, and fully annex Herzegovina, meaning give it back to Bosnia. It's only going to cost you 2 aggressive expansions, so it's basically nothing, and take all the cash you can from them as well. After the second war is finished, it's time to declare war on the Byzantines and set whatever province you want as your main war target. It doesn't really matter. Make sure you do get an admiral for this war, as the Byzantines do have a sizable fleet together with their vassal. I do recommend that you attack Byzantium before their truce is over with the Turks, as a lot of the times the Turks will be rushing Byzantium also. So you want to make sure that you're the one sieging down Constantinople and not them. If you get a chance to siege down Wallachia, peace them out and ask them to transfer trade power. If you don't get a chance because they're completely sieged by the Ottomans, most likely they want to peace you out too, so just go for white peace, it doesn't matter. Before piecing out the Byzantines, make sure you position your fleets in the same sea tiles as whatever smaller Ottoman fleets you see, so that once we get dragged into the Ottoman war, we directly take out their fleets before the war even starts. Make sure that you vassalize the Byzantines and that you take the province of Athens, as we're going to be feeding it to the Byzantines afterwards, and take as much money as you can. This will give you a small coalition. The only nations I would be worried about is literally just Naples, but there's only 3 nations that I don't have a truce with, so I'm not worried about them joining it. Seeing as this is a defensive war, I can call in my French partners together with my Polish partners, so I'm basically gonna destroy the Ottomans right now. We got 107,000 units, just infantry, against the Ottomans by themselves. This is insane. You will definitely have liberty desire issues, especially with Byzantium, but after you feed them back their cores, these liberty desire issues are gonna go away. In the meanwhile, what you can do is actually improve relations with them. It is ideal to just feed Athens to the Byzantines together with Arta if you have not cored it yet, and as you can see, I have not even started coring it, nor have I started coring Athens, so I'm basically just going to give these 2 to the Byzantines once we are at peace. Around this time, you should get the first monopoly on the Adriatic trade mission enacted. That gives you another 2 mercantilism, so that's pretty sweet. And it looks like the French have arrived, and they brought their vassals with them. Well, the Poles pieced out pretty fast. That's not cool. I guess it's because they basically got stack wiped again and again. But the French seem to have a grasp on things here. This war really should be a cakewalk if you were called in as a defender, but if you did not manage to do this trick and you just vassalized the Byzantines, then it's still not an issue. You can still win. 2 really good tactics would be to trap the Ottoman armies in either Corfu or Negropont, or if you're really scared of them, you can just make sure you trap them on either side of the Ottoman Empire, be it on the Balkan or the Anatolian side, and just carpet siege everything on the side where they don't have any troops. When you've won enough battles and you're ready to peace out the Ottomans, what I recommend you do is give back most of the cores to your vassal Byzantium, but not all of them. Do not give back Selanik and Edirne because they have forts in these two provinces. And in the second war against the Ottomans, which is going to be very shortly, it's going to be a lot easier just taking these two forts. Also, almost mandatory is that you take at least one province that has Bulgarian as its main culture so that you can release Bulgaria afterwards and feed it back its cores. Of course, after we've integrated our first two vassals, Montenegro and Naxos, so that we don't have many issues with our vassal swarm. So peace out the Ottomans, and there you go. We now have a super loyal vassal. Byzantium has minus 46 liberty desire simply from returning all of their cores, and we're gonna give them some more cores, the ones that we did not bother to core ourselves. And if you really are struggling with your vassals, you can also placate local rulers, or you can even dev up the provinces they have once, which is going to give you minus 5% liberty desire. So for example, if I dev up Naxos once, they're going to stop being disloyal, which means that I can start integrating them. And after I finish integrating Naxos together with my other first vassal of Montenegro, it's going to be a lot easier getting a hold on my other vassals as well. Do not core Silistria, as you're going to be releasing from it Bulgaria after you integrate Naxos, so you don't want to waste the admin points. And it's only going to take 1 year to integrate them. Should be able to pay off all of your loans as well. And if you really want to mess with the Ottomans, then you can attack Ragusa, and that's going to call in the Ottomans as well as Florence, and you can just milk the Ottomans for another 1,000 ducats right after this war. You don't have to wait for the truce to finish, and after that you can attack them again and take back Selanik and Edirne for your vassal Byzantium. After you've released the Bulgarians and fed them back all of their cores, and you've pretty much gotten a good grasp on the Balkans, you can start expanding into the south of Italy, especially if Naples doesn't have any significant allies. This is a good idea as they have 5 of your own Venetian trade node provinces. You also want to take all of the Aegean islands so that you can finish off some of your missions and eventually get into Cyprus and into the Holy Lands, as well as the Alexandrian homeland here, so that we can improve the amount of trade power that we have in the Alexandria trade node. The majority of the Venetian missions actually revolve around giving you some temporary boosts, such as construction cost bonuses, or even giving you some admin diplo or military points, prestige, and so on. Even have some nice events eventually, but you also can get some permanent modifiers such as the Francocracy, which basically gives you until the end of the game galley cost minus 10% and prestige from naval battles plus 100%. You also can get lottery candidates plus 1 for their skill points until the end of the game. This is going to be really good for you, and you can actually get this mission enacted pretty early in the game. As well as if you do destroy Austria, Diplo relation slots plus 1 and unjustified demands minus 10% also until the end of the game. If you want to follow the warpath of your mission tree, you should start with the extending the arsenal and then following up with the contest Genoese trade and reclaim the Aegean. You will not get claims for any of these provinces, so you will have to manually get them, but after you get these provinces one way or another, you can get claims on Constantinople, Cyprus, eventually even the Delta and Aleppo area, which is basically the home centers of the Mamluks. And by expanding the terra firma, you get claims on all of the North Italy parts here except Savoy and even the Tyrol area, with eventually getting a subjugation CB against the Austrians themselves. The Venetian ideas are honestly not the best in the game. You can actually tag switch over to Dalmatia, which has pretty good ideas, or after you've incorporated the Byzantines, you can tag switch over to Greek, as you're gonna have more than 50% Greek lands after you've integrated all of Byzantium. When discussing what ideas to go for, it really depends whether you have admin, diplo, or military points lying around. So if you have, for example, military points lying around, a really good first idea would either be plutocratic ideas or quantity ideas based on your situation. If you're okay militarily speaking, then I would go for plutocratic, as it definitely boosts up your army morale. It gives you an extra merchant, goods produce modifier, and even manpower recovery speed plus 20%. If you are struggling militarily speaking and you feel like you don't have have enough troops, then go for quantity as it boosts up your manpower as well as your land force limit. If you have extra diplo points lying around, then you definitely need to go for trade ideas, which gives you an extra 3 merchants at the start of the game. Getting that many extra merchants is extremely good for the Venetians, not to mention the trade efficiency and so on. And if you have admin points lying around, then you should go for economic ideas. If you went with quantity as well, then you can get a minus 30% development cost reduction, and you can play quite tall as the Venetians if you wish to do so. And even if that's not the thing that you're going for, pretty much all of the ideas from economic ideas are insanely good and boost up your economy considerably, as well as help you deal with the inflation that the mine in Kosovo is going to cause, as gold mines do bring about a lot of inflation once you have above 4 production in the gold mine province. One more thing I want to add is that it is a really great idea to switch to the Orthodox religion after you've integrated all of your Balkan vassals, since that's going to bring you to over 50% Orthodox provinces within the nation, and Orthodox overall is definitely a much better religion than Catholicism. If you do choose to go Orthodox, also I recommend choosing religious ideas for the CB Deus Vult that gives you 75% aggressive expansion, as well as helps with converting the lands that you are taking. To put this into perspective, you would be the only Orthodox nation in a sea of Catholic, Muslims, and eventually Protestant nations, and wow, oh my god, Hussites as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribing, as well as leave the bell button on. It will notify you when I release new guides, and it would really help me out as well. I also want to give a big shout out to my patrons. I cannot believe I actually got 14 patrons now, so thank you so much all of you for all the support you've been giving me. And if anybody else would like to become one of my patrons, then check the link in the description. So until the next one, have a great day, everybody.